a little bit of homework on you.
Okay.
I know that you started off in real estate.
Yes.
And then eventually like made your own kind of consulting business. You do a little bit of everything, actually.
Yes. I actually started out being a real estate assistant in a brokerage office.
Okay.
So that was the very first like super professional job I had,
Mhm.
outside of like college jobs.
Okay.
So I had that job. I was paid pennies.
She's like, make sure you know that.
I was paid pennies and but what I did was, because I came in, I was supposed to like answer the phones.
Okay.
I really wasn't supposed to be doing everything I ended up doing.
Yeah, that's usually how it works.
But
mhm.
that's when I realized that I don't sit well and do what I'm told very nicely.
Yeah.
So when I got in there, I noticed I saw his brochures. They were like done in Word,
Mhm.
and he did land and commercial and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So he'd been doing land for a while. And so because the brochures and stuff look so,
Regular.
basic,
Mhm.
I was like, we got to spruce it up a little bit. Back then it was, you did everything like in PowerPoint. I mean, because this was now 17 years ago.
People who are watching this are like, we're not supposed to be using PowerPoint no more.
Not to design a full brochure.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So that's what I utilized at that time, which they, weren't using. So we used PowerPoint, and I did better brochures.
Did you have like a graphic background, or you just knew that it was not up to par?
I just knew this wasn't going to work.
Okay.
Right. So I naturally like to just solve the problem.
Okay.
So I started to, do better graphics, and then, we should create a system for this, and we should, do this with the client. And so it wasn't, long before this little girl that we hired to answer the phones
was a boss.
Was doing a lot more than that, right? But it was a small office, but he did big business, right?
Yeah. I was about to say the type of contracts you had mentioned, that I researched was like pretty significant.
Yes, no, we were multi-million-dollar like subdivisions that, because we live in the same area that people drive by every day. Like he developed those.
Wow.
He sold the land and then he helped develop them. So that would be a separate contract that he would do.
And prior to this, did you have any interest in real estate or any
none at all?
Interest? Okay, so it's just like I got a job.
I was a hot mess. Okay, I was interested in partying and just making sure my son stayed alive
Honestly,
at that point.
Okay. Yes.
Right.
Okay,
so I wasn't that professional.
Yeah.
I didn't really realize how much I love business until I started working in somebody else's business.
Yeah. And you were
then
like
I
really
realized
good.
I like it here. Like I like improving things. I like making systems better. I like revenue increasing on behalf of something that I did.
Yes.
I think that's when the first time I realized that.
Okay.
I took pride in it.
Okay.
Even though it didn't really increase my income that much.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is what I learned to, kind of wish I had more at that time, right? I wish I had made more money and all that kind of stuff. But what I learned working in that business still pays me to this day.
Okay.
So I worked there for a very long time. And then the recession happened.
Okay.
And commercial land, that was the first to take a hit. Those businesses were the first to take a hit. So he called me in the office and he said, this Titanic may go down. It's okay to jump now if you need to jump. Like, you don't have to like wait with us.
Yeah.
And if something implodes,
take care of yourself.
He gave me permission that you could start looking around if you need to.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. And I ended up going to a corporate bank. And that corporate bank did, procedures and they created procedures for departments that were failing. Okay. That was the position that I had.
Okay.
So if a department was losing, let's say they lost $1 million in a month.
Oh, Lord. Wait, I'm sorry. What?
Right. It's a big bank though. It's a big bank. So let's say the bank lost $1 million in a month. They would call an escalated department and they would have to put a remediation plan together. And then you would have to go in, what is the problem, diagnose the problem. Then you figure out this is how we're going to fix the problem. Then you would implement the fix and then you would test that fix.
So you love like processes, ones and zeros, standardization, get it organized.
It just ended up being where I landed, right? So when I started working with the company, I moved around a little bit until I got in this department, which I loved.
Okay.
I loved diagnosing the problem, fixing the problem. Let's test out this procedure. Now let's test that procedure.
At the bank, right?
At the bank.
Okay.
So once I tested the procedure, then my job was done. I went on to the next, I went and solved the next problem.
Okay.
So I did that for many years until I was promoted so much that I was at salary
cap.
So I couldn't get overtime. Because, your girl didn't mind working.
Yeah.
And I like making money.
Yes.
But once you are salary, it doesn't matter.
More hours don't mean more money. Wait a minute, you ain't getting more.
That wasn't working for me.
Right.
So anyway, being at salary, and then I was newly married. I was a newlywed at this point. And my husband was still trying to find his footing in what his career was going to be.
Yeah.
And so it just was very stressful financially.
Okay.
We got this new house and we just were trying to survive and it just wasn't working.
Okay.
We weren't the best with money. We were
Mhm.
still very young, and it wasn't long before it was like, we're about to file bankruptcy just so they don't take our house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was a very stressful time.
Mhm.
And I remember the day happened that we had to file bankruptcy.
Oh, you actually filed
We
bankruptcy.
filed bankruptcy. It was that or we were going to lose the house.
How was that? Like, considering you had worked with people with multi-million-dollar months, you're saying, right?
Mhm.
To then now being in a place where you have to file bankruptcy. Like, how did that feel?
For me,
Mhm.
who prided herself on making sure people made a lot of money, it was my bottom. Some
Right.
people like go through that and it's like a business strategy.
Like a transaction. Like, oh,
You
well,
know
we're
what I
just gonna
mean?
do
This is what I got to do.
Yeah.
It was like the most embarrassing thing I felt like I would ever have to go through in my life.
And what was the shame? Like, what was like your internal belief at the time?
I think my internal belief was I had failed my family.
Mm.
I couldn't figure it out. I'm the master
Mhm.
at figuring things out. I
Yeah.
could not figure that out without having to do that.
Did you at the time attribute like this problem to like your personal worth at the time?
Absolutely. 100%. It wasn't until years later that I was able to separate the two.
Gotcha.
That I was able to separate that I had to do that. That wasn't
Mhm.
who I was.
Right.
I used to didn't tell anybody for years.
That you filed bankruptcy?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it was like a secret.
If you weren't like my parents,
Yeah.
you didn't know.
Okay. Were you like jumping through hoops to like keep this image up? Because like you guys, did you let go of the house or you guys filed bankruptcy to keep the
No,
house?
we filed to keep it.
Okay.
And the day that we filed it, we had to go to the, lawyer's office.
Yeah.
We came home, and because we had a new house, you know how when you buy a new house, not every room has furniture in it.
Yeah.
So we had this first room when you walked in the house was like this empty room that
Mhm.
it was supposed to be a formal dining room.
Yeah.
And we didn't know what we were going to do with it. Like,
Yeah.
maybe, if you have a kid.
Especially in
it'll be
Texas, y'all like to put spaces just in random
just
spots.
random rooms,
Like,
right?
what am I going to do with it?
And this was a random room in
Yes.
the house. And it sat there. I think we had the house for like a year and a half or something at that point.
Mhm.
And I walked in that office.
Mhm.
It had double doors because it was supposed to be formal dining. I walked in that office. I opened those double doors. I said, I'm going to make this, a room. I said, I'm going to make this an office.
Okay.
And I'm going to start a business.
Okay. So
I didn't know what it was going to be, though.
I was about to say,
Yeah.
because I think a lot of entrepreneurs can relate to, there's like a moment, like, what do you call it? Like, I forget what it's called in like a story where a plot twist where it's like, okay,
Yes.
we're here at the climax. We have to make a decision. Are we going to be a victim of this embarrassing bankruptcy?
Yep.
Right. And trying to navigate like your internal beliefs and all this stuff. Or am I going to move forward? Because at that time, you had a really strong, proven track record of being able to generate millions of dollars for others.
For other people.
Even when there's, of course, with working with somebody else, there's red tape about what you can and can't do, when you can do it, and then how are they going to pay you? And it's like, you know what I mean?
That's right.
So you knew, subconsciously at least,
Mhm.
that you could do this. So what was it at that moment that's like, no, we're done?
So, I think I've always been a hustler by nature. Like, always had that energy.
I
Like,
get that vibe.
I can do some more. What else can I do? What else can I do? Right. But I always put that in work, right?
Into somebody else's
work.
Ooh, okay.
And it worked well for me up until that point. It worked
Mhm.
well for me in corporate America because I could work all this overtime.
Yeah.
So really that salary cap
Mm-hmm.
was like the
moment
trigger.
where you're like, wait a minute.
Dang, it doesn't matter how hard I work. It doesn't matter how good I am. Like, I'm getting the same salary.
Your output and your ROI proportionate to your effort is now kind of plateaued.
Yes, and I realized I don't work well that way.
Yeah. It's you need gratification. Like, I'm going to do this and then I get this.
That's right.
Okay.
That is how I work.
Ones and zeros. You literally are. I like her.
So
Words is here, guys, in the corner.
So, shout out to Words.
Yes.
We'll get to him later.
Girl. Or will we? Will we?
Maybe.
Anyway.
So I opened up this empty room in my home. I said, I'm going to make this an office. I don't know what I'm going to do, but what I realized in that moment was that your job controls your salary, but I control my income.
Say that again. Your job
Controls your salary, but you control your income.
Okay.
How much money you generate is solely your responsibility.
Yeah, we about to get into it. You just got real serious and you're like locked eyes. Wait a minute.
This is the aha moment I had, right? that I would never go through this again.
Okay.
I would never have stress this heavy and have to do things that I'm not comfortable doing that is against my values.
Ooh.
Because I didn't have enough money.
You didn't have options.
I didn't have enough options.
What were some of the things that you were doing that were like against your core values? I'm curious.
Filing bankruptcy.
Okay, so that was the big one.
Yeah.
Okay.
To me at that time.
And I know you're super big on family. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like
super family oriented.
And I'm just a natural leader, so I just tend to take the responsibility of things that happen that are bad.
Yeah, you just take it on the chin.
Yeah.
And I think that could be a double-edged sword. It's like I take responsibility, but sometimes that could be I also take the shame. Right?
That's correct.
So it is
1000%.
something, it's a tricky thing.
It is.
Mhm.
And at that point in my life, early 20s, that was that is just how I processed it. It was a huge failure for me.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what I was going to do.
Okay.
I just told God, give me something at this point. Give me
That's
something.
how you know you're at the, when you have that conversation, like, all right, Lord, listen, let's
I need you.
I need you. Come on now. Right?
So I knew I needed something. So anyway, cut to, a few weeks later.
Okay.
Me and my son, we used to always go to the library. Okay. I love books. Now I've learned to love business books, but at that point I love books. So I'm just in the library and I see a book and it says, businesses you can start for less than $1,000.
What year was this when you found this book?
This would have been 2014.
Okay.
2014, I want to say 2000, maybe the end of 2013.
I feel like all successful entrepreneurs have like that one book that like completely shifts their mind and they're like, I need to read. I got an Audible account now.
That's right. I'm a professional.
Okay. Yeah.
You're looking for me.
Okay.
I'm somewhere being professional.
With the glasses. I know that's right.
At that point. Okay.
Right.
I had been delivered. Okay. So,
come on now.
So I see this book and I open up the book and I'm, how you just stand in the library flipping through like, what you talking about? So I'm reading this book and one of the things it said was virtual assistant.
Hey.
It wasn't even, I don't even know if it was 2 full pages. It might have been a page and a half.
That's all you needed though.
And
I feel like creatives like you just need the idea.
Just give me
then
that.
That's it.
Just need to
move
see.
out the way. I got it.
So I read the page and a half and it was like the words were coming off the page and in 3D. Like I could see myself doing it.
Yeah.
And I knew immediately.
You could visualize yourself in it. You could see
I was
exactly
already there.
You were there.
It was like,
you're like,
they say everything's created twice.
Mm-hmm.
Reading it in that book, it was created in my mind.
Okay.
I just knew I had to walk the steps out to do it.
Okay.
Just like standing in that empty room and saying, this is going to be my office.
Mm-hmm. You could see it before it was.
I was immediately a millionaire.
Were the people around you, like, of course you have a great relationship with your husband, but like, and I know you're super private, right? Because I went to your page and I was like, she don't got more followers. There's nothing there. Just your kids.
I'm going to do better though.
But it's okay. It's okay because the bank don't know the damn difference between, the check's still cash.
Quiet on the internet and loud at the bank. Okay. Is my phrase. I'm very loud at the bank.
I love it. I love it. Okay. You were able to clearly visualize, okay, this is what I want to do. So did you walk into your office first and then come across the book, or like what was the order?
Office was first.
Office was first.
I'm gonna start a business.
And then you went to the library and now the idea is sparked.
That was it. Okay. I mean, it was just the very beginning. It planted the seed and it took root.
What was so attractive about virtual assistant for you at that point?
So I'm naturally an introvert, right? So the fact that I could help someone, and this is what I end up learning over time is my journey as an entrepreneur, is that I work best helping others. Because I tried businesses where I was like, really, I wasn't supporting anyone.
Well, give me some examples, right? Because people would argue that every business is there to solve someone's problem.
I wanted to flip domains. I was going to buy domains cheap, flip those bad boys and sell them.
Okay.
Bored to tears. Lost interest immediately.
So you need the personal interaction.
I need that. And I need to see that I need to see that what I did helped you.
Yeah.
And it
input, process, output.
And it helped you make more money.
Okay.
And it helped improve your process. Okay. And it took time off of you.
Okay. Got it.
Yes.
And has that always been like your personality?
I didn't know it, but the data, as you look back and you think of the jobs I had, the data shows that that's what I enjoy doing the most.
Okay.
But I don't know that I make the connection. But seeing virtual assistant,
something about it was like, oh, that sounds like fun.
And I could do that at home.
Okay.
I could be close
you have 2 children at this point? At that point?
At that point, I had just my son. We just had our son.
Okay. Okay, cool.
That was it.
Okay, so now you're about to do this virtual assistant. You have this office that's in your mind. How do we go from there to then you have, over 10 employees, a thriving business? Like, walk us through the transformation that Tiffany had to make to get from one point to another.
That's so good. So I had to change my input.
Your personal inputs?
My personal input.
Okay.
98% of entrepreneurship is who the person is.
Listen, I'm triggered.
2% execution. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like who you are is going to directly equate your bank account.
Give me some examples because our audience is a mix of like established entrepreneurs and people who have like kind of like, like double Dutch. We're like, okay, I'm going to do it. No, okay, next year. No, okay. Let me write my business plan. Let me do a mastermind. Let me get my Instagram together first, right? So like, give me some examples of like the inputs that you had to change and to be a different person for your business.
Sure. So at this point, I fill my time with, watching trash television. I get home from work.
Before.
Yes.
Okay.
You watch some reality TV shows.
What were you watching? Tell me.
Oh, if it ended in Housewife, honey.
Okay.
I was tuned in.
I was locked in VH1 made so much money. Oh my God.
I mean,
jeez.
I didn't miss an episode.
I love VH1.
And then when you're into TV like that, you don't miss an episode. Then you got a group chat going.
Yes.
Then you got the girl that watches that show. Then you got to tell them to watch this show. They're telling you to watch that show. Then you got to watch. Meanwhile, I'm filing bankruptcy, by the way. So, but you see what I'm saying? The problem, the input, was not helping me.
Yes.
So, me going to the library and realize, okay, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
The very first thing I did is so funny. You mentioned that. You're like, you get an Audible account. I mean, you have to because what you realize is, if I can get what I get knowing what I know, then I would already have it.
Whoa. You be saying these things. Hold on. So break that down one more time. You get what you get.
If I could get what I get knowing what I know, I would already have it. So I knew that the bridge between what I wanted and where I was the knowledge that I had. I did know, I knew that enough to know that I couldn't keep doing what I was doing.
Yes. If you want something different.
Create wealth.
Yes. You got to do something different.
I needed to do something different.
And then anything else that you wanted was a matter of acquiring the knowledge to get there.
That's right.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you one of my little cheat codes I did.
Let me come on, drop the cheat codes. Don't be stingy.
Right. So what I realized is I said, okay, if, because when I was in college, I was like terrible in college.
Can we talk about that real quick? So I feel like if you are really successful at college, and I might be overgeneralizing, I feel like if you were successful at school, it was just a measure of how well you followed the rules. And following the rules, like they say, well-behaved women rarely make history. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I definitely didn't graduate with the 3.0, but I feel like I did really good.
But you graduated.
I did. See, you did better than me. Baby, listen.
Okay, you did better than me.
Oh, you didn't graduate?
Graduate. If somebody said Tiff if I told somebody that went to the school when I went to school, they'd be like, she did? She went to this school?
Oh, they didn't even see you.
Oh, honey, if the party ended early, maybe I could swing by.
Okay.
I was terrible.
Okay.
I literally was terrible. Let me tell you, the transformation of this young lady should inspire anybody.
Okay.
So I never was great at college. I think I was boring. I couldn't make the connection on how this was going to help me.
Okay.
I'm going to history.
And it's hard. If you can't, and especially as a person who needs to see the return on your investment, like school is hard.
Yeah.
And I think, and not only just you, but I think a lot of people can relate to like anything that you do that is difficult requires a really compelling reason why you're going to do it. Because when you're tired, when you're exhausted, when it's boring, you've got to have something to keep you locked in.
How does this help me?
Like, why am I doing this?
At that point, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I could probably go back to college now and do very well.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But back then, I didn't have my wits about me to be able to be successful in college. So fast forward now, I know that I need knowledge to be successful if I'm going to start a business.
Okay.
What I did is I created a syllabus of some sort. Of
course
and I would say, what is the first thing I need to learn? Okay. I need to create healthier habits.
I can literally see how your transformation is coming along to where you're doing these huge events. Like I can like syllabus, Melinda folders, badges, labels, get it together.
I'm a professional now.
Yes.
So on it, I had in just like a semester, I would create semesters for myself. This semester, all I want to learn is how to create the habits of the successful.
Have you ever read the book 12-Week Year?
Yes.
I feel like you were ahead of your time.
I love that book.
Isn't it so good?
So good.
Okay.
So good.
Yeah, if you haven't read that, go read the book. It's amazing.
What I would do is I have 3 books I had to read in that quarter, 3 influencers that mastered that I had to follow and study in that quarter.
We're not
playing. 3
playing.
podcasts that I had to listen to, and then of course 3 just YouTube videos on the topic.
And is it just you and you, like, or
just
like, are you talking to your husband about this? Like, is it just literally you in your
At
in
this
your
point,
office?
It's just me.
Wow.
It's just me desperate to not have to be that embarrassed again. I was running away from that embarrassment.
Pain will do that to you.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I said, okay. And then I had application hours. So after I would watch it, I had to have a certain amount of hours where I had to apply what I learned. And I did that every quarter, every year. And I still do it now.
So let me ask you this, right? Because I think people who don't know, and we're going to get to some of your amazing accomplishments here in a minute, but for people who don't know you, right? It sounds like, well, I still don't understand how we go from watching TV all the time to now you're this super disciplined person. I know for me, discipline is really hard when I'm not engaged. So like, what are some like the very practical things? Like knowing your why is one, but how do you literally go from like on the couch, TV lots of time to now you have syllabuses and semesters? Like, give me some practical things of how you make that shift.
So I think the first practical thing is that I created that syllabus so that I could become a different person.
Okay.
And if it wasn't for that process that I created, I wouldn't have become a different person. So the very first one I ever did was how to create healthy habits, like habits that will make me wealthy, habits that will keep me healthy, habits that were good for my marriage. So I just wanted to do things every day that didn't deter me from my goal, but push me towards my goal.
Was it hard in the beginning to kind of like get that ball rolling, or did you feel like the minute you made the semester?
I was desperate. See, you don't have to force a desperate person to do anything. You don't.
That's good.
I was desperate not to have to feel that again. I knew I knew that was not who I was created to be.
Okay.
But the realization didn't happen until I actually filed bankruptcy. It was
once you were in that situation.
I was like, this is not my life.
Yeah. Like, we're never doing this again.
Never.
Okay.
And that's why I say this to people all the time. We were destitute at that point. I opened the double doors to this empty room. I said, I'm going to create a business. From that moment, I was wealthy.
Okay.
It was just a matter of me figuring out how that meant I was going to create wealth for myself.
In terms of the wealth mindset, like, you know, in terms of how you grew up and stuff, did you grow up with a wealthy family, or, you know, had that always been like your approach to money? Like, what at that moment made change the wealth mindset as well?
So it's interesting you ask. I didn't grow up with a wealthy family. I grew up kind of middle class, I guess you say. Like, my father was military. So I grew up military brat, bouncing around the world and meeting new friends and all this kind of stuff. So while we weren't wealthy per se, we did live a life where you just basically worked to pay your debts.
And you worked to survive.
You worked to survive.
Okay.
So you worked to pay the car note and the mortgage, and you paid that. So if ever something happened where your income was impacted, you were not going to be prepared.
The system doesn't work anymore.
It doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
Now, had I learned when I was growing up, you know, save 10%, tithe 10%? Absolutely.
Yes.
I also was early 20s.
Yes.
Okay. So just there's a little
You're
bit
still figuring things out.
I'm still an idiot at this. You know what I'm saying? Trying to be grown. So there was that process.
Yeah.
But me starting the syllabus because I changed the input, right? Because I no longer had time for TV.
So what you were consuming, what you were spending your time with.
Yeah, I had a 45-minute commute to and from work.
Okay.
That was now my mobile classroom.
Okay.
I'm listening to audiobooks then. I'm listening to the podcast then. It was to a point I didn't even know what new music was out.
Yeah.
I just had no clue. I didn't know. Somebody had to let me know what was going on in the world. I was consumed in improving myself. Okay. I became submerged in it for sure.
Are there 3 resources that you feel like were absolutely foundational to the change that you made? Like, if you had to pick like either top 3 books or top 3 podcasts or influencers or business role models, like what are your 3 that you say were really key for you?
So, very first book that was a game changer for me was 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Completely changed.
It'll read you for Phil. You might have to put it down for a minute and then pick it back up.
And I still see people making those mistakes. Multi-millionaires. And I'm like, why would you present that idea to them? Was that think win-win? Why would you create something where they win and you lose? Why would you create something where you lose and they win?
Yeah.
It doesn't benefit you because you can't do it long term.
Yep.
So these are all principles I learned in that book that I still use today.
To this day.
But it's because I didn't just read the book. I had application hours and I had to apply what I was learning.
That's what you meant, application hours.
Yes.
I thought you meant like applying yourself, Okay. I love that.
I had to read the book and then I had time where I had to apply how can I make this applicable to my life?
So for those who are listening who are like, I love this idea, can you run me really quickly through what your semester looked like? Like you gave me a few breakdowns, but like what did your day look like? Because you were still working at this point?
Working.
So yeah, give me your schedule. Like you wake up at what time? How much are you reading? How much are you listening to? Like walk me through it real quick.
So, I mean, I would get up. I don't remember the time at that point. It was corporate. So let's say I got up at 6:30.
Okay.
Right? Let's say I had to be work at 9. So I get my son ready. He went to school near my job. So we always rode together during school. So as I'm getting ready and as I'm in the car on the way to work, I'm listening to an audio book.
Okay. I love that he's growing up listening to you, listening to this. So now I'm sure he's an avid reader.
Well, he's a work in progress.
Yes.
But he at least has been consumed.
Yes.
Here's the thing. If they're an avid reader or not, they can't unhear what they've heard.
Yeah. It's already, the seeds have been planted.
That's right.
And they will
can't
come to
see what they've seen.
Exactly.
The seeds are there. Because when you think about my life, the seeds were planted. I went through a season of my life where you couldn't tell if I ever had parents.
Yeah.
Okay. But the seeds were planted.
The seeds were planted. It
and
was
now
there.
Now I'm a pretty flower.
Now you're good.
Now they're very proud of me.
Yes.
No, they were,
They were concerned for a little bit, but
that's
I feel
right.
like
It's
as
a little
parents,
shaky.
they're like, okay.
So, but I will say that, but so that was, on my way to work. And while I'm at work, I'll listen to a podcast while I'm working.
Okay.
And we work files. I kind of I was pretty independent with my job. We did have a few, have my meetings when I'm giving them, these are the marching orders because I'm resolving these issues. That was the job I had at the time.
Yeah.
So, so I'll be listening to a podcast or something like that. Your eye gate, your ear gate, your mouth gate, like everything that had access to my brain.
You were guarding it very aggressively.
I was guarding it. Yes.
Very good.
Yeah.
I love this. Okay. So so you're listening to podcasts, business stuff, like it's overflowing everywhere in your life at every speaker. It seems like in your house, the car, your headphones at the house, right? So then you get home and obviously you're a mom and I have members of my audience who are like, how the hell do moms do it? So like, at the beginning stages when you were still trying to figure it out, what routines helped you then?
So, I mean, I used to, back then I might cook all my meals on Sunday. Okay. I would batch cook.
Another mom said on a previous episode, batching was the biggest thing, whether it's content, cooking, cleaning.
Batch cooking is like a game changer. So I batch cook. Of course, while I'm doing that, I'm listening to audiobooks and podcasts, right?
I need to see your hourly reports of like how many hours you commute.
And back then it was intense.
Okay.
Now I'm actually working a lot. You know what I mean?
It's a little bit different. You're applying, you're at application hours.
Yes.
I love it.
Well, back then I was seed planting.
Okay.
I was in, a seed it grows down, then the roots take. I was in that phase of my life. So it wasn't a lot of pretty flowers. Okay. I was submerged into learning.
Okay. So your batch cooking to give you some more time. It sounds like you're also to maximizing your time, you're finding ways to do two things at once, right?
Yes, absolutely.
What other routines as a mom helped you at that point when you were getting your feet kind of?
I think those would probably be the two biggest ones.
Okay.
At that point I just had my son. He was old enough where he was, you know what I mean? He wasn't at that age where he just needed mommy all the time.
Yeah.
He's very kind of like me, has my personality. So he's very kind of independent, introverted.
Yeah.
So he was like the perfect kid for what I needed in my life at that point.
Time. Yeah.
The kid,
the sparkle in your eyes is like my other child. On the other hand,
we'll talk about her later. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But she's more, she needs that interaction. You know what I mean? But he wasn't necessarily that way.
Okay.
So that was very helpful.
Okay.
My husband also worked nights.
Oh, good. So you guys are tag teaming it.
So it was like he worked nights. So it wasn't, how you come home, you're like, okay, I've been in this office. I got to go spend some quality time with my husband. He was at work.
Yeah.
So if I put my son to bed at 8:00, honey, I could work
the house is quiet.
I couldn't keep my eyes open.
Okay.
So, and that's what I would do. So, but I get home, get him settled with dinner. If he had homework, we knock that out, and I would go in my office and I start to build my business.
Okay. How many hours were you doing typically? Let's say you get home like 5. How often was it that you were working like late into the night? Was it like a constant thing in the beginning?
Yeah, I probably was going to bed then, probably every night about 2 a.m.
Ooh. Lord have mercy. Now, I'm one of those entrepreneurs where there's a lot of wellness things that I can sacrifice. Sleep, I've learned, is not one of them. I might get away with it day 1, day 2, day 3. Day 4, I am unrecognizable.
Struggling. Yes, struggling. I'm sure there was a balance.
Yeah.
There was a midnight and then a 2 a.m. and then
even midnight, child. We gon'.
Oh yeah, no, midnight's that's a good.
That's your normal.
That's a good bedtime for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Girl.
So
okay.
I can function off midnight. So, but yeah, I mean, I would come home and I would work on my business. At that point.
Yeah, I was about to say, tell me about your business at that point. I know we've been talking
So
a lot
I wanted
about
to be a virtual. I was going to be a virtual assistant. And then it was really not a lot of like information and training.
No, even now, there's not a whole lot about virtual assistants.
There's not a lot of training. And then here's what I learned too, because it's an introvert's game. You know, the trainings, they're like, I mean, there's no video. It's a slide. Their like, audio's
here
on
are the
top.
notes, but you can't see.
I mean, I just, please don't make me be on camera.
Yes.
So it was just like, it was really hard to really get a coach at that time. So I had to figure it out on my own. Now, what I could find online is everybody said find a niche.
Okay.
You do not just do general virtual assistant.
Okay.
Find a niche.
Okay.
So you know what I did?
You were general.
I did general.
Okay, I know you did.
I did general because I didn't want to box myself in, right?
I already knew where we were going.
So I was a little hard-headed. So I started out doing general, and I got like, you know, some random clients that did.
And by general, you would take anybody. It didn't have to be
anybody that had a business or something going on. I would help you.
Okay,
I'm your girl.
So how long between when you first decide you're going to be a virtual assistant to your first client?
I think I decided. I just did this research too for a training that I'm getting ready to do. So I think I just decided January. By April, I had my first client.
Hey,
because I had to do a website. You know, I wanted to have my website done. I thought my website was lit. And then I went and pulled it up. It was trash.
Oh, okay.
Okay, trash. So it was terrible.
Okay.
My logo was terrible. My brochure was hideous. It was worse than the website, the brochure. How I got clients with these materials, I have no idea. So it must have been referrals.
Listen, so to entrepreneurs, because I know all of us have made that mistake. I don't know a single entrepreneur who doesn't invest a lot of money, time, and effort trying to get it looking legit before it is legit. Like, do you recommend that strategy?
When I'm coaching someone that's doing that, I literally want to pick them up and throw them across the room.
Okay.
So I get very frustrated with that.
What would you tell them to focus on instead?
It's been 2 weeks. I'm trying to see which logo. I don't know if nobody cares about your logo.
Yeah.
Nobody. Can you help them?
Yeah.
Can you convey that you can help them?
Can you fix the problem?
Let's start there.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But when you are an aspiring entrepreneur, you think that that's the important part.
Because I think that's also on the surface, that's the easiest thing to figure out, like in terms of, I don't know about marketing plans and I don't know about copy. I mean, at least I didn't. So I knew I had to have a website. That's like basic 101. Even if you're not in business or have no experience, you know I got to have a website. I got to have somewhere. So
and then you go to like somebody that's been in business for, 10 years and you're like, this is the website that I want. It's like, baby, be chapter 1. You know it's okay to be in your chapter 1.
Listen, I'm one of those. I was definitely, and still to a certain point, I do not want to sit in the place that I'm at and enjoy. I'm getting better now, but I would often struggle with seeing where I want to go. I'm kind of like you in the terms of like being visionary. Yeah. Girl, I can see the whole thing from front all the way to back. Right. But then, me and Words were actually talking about this on his episode. I was like, you probably think that I don't get anything done. He's like, no, I know that you're going to get everything done to a perfectionist level.
That's right.
And sometimes that hinders me because you're the inspirations that are supposed to inspire me torment. And so I literally would go from like super excited, like, oh my God, I can see it. I can see the details on the tablecloth for this launch party. And I can see this and I can see the logo and balloons. And oh my God, we can have a DJ. And then like 10 minutes after that, I'm like at a 0 because I'm like, how am I going to get this?
How am I going to
get this money? Da, da, da. So I've been really practicing on, I believe that God gives you the vision and the idea for it.
Yes.
And your job is to be obedient and manage your steps and listen to the order that he's going to kind of put ahead of you. So it's like, if you're a good steward of what he, like right now, he gave me 5 audience members and I need to be grateful for those 5. What? We're going to be best friends.
That's right. You might have my phone number.
Right.
We'll work by 5.
Because you guys are going to be my champions. Like, Up9 is amazing.
Yes.
Right?
We are the only creature that God created that can think of something and then go create what we thought.
Yeah.
Because we're made in his image.
Yeah. I saw someone say that there's no other organism that like, grass doesn't look at a tree and say, God, I wish I was a tree.
That's right. Only we do that.
We just do the grass thing.
But what our job is to do is to create the thing that was planted in us.
Yes.
The problem we have is we want to create the thing that was planted in somebody else.
You know what?
Yeah.
Okay. They say the graveyard is the wealthiest place on earth
because it's all your ideas.
Yes, where they go to die.
Dead.
And so there was a talk I was listening to. It's like, you know, all of your ideas will stand around you at your grave. Just as spiritually, I don't believe this, but, you know, just metaphorically thinking, right? And they're like, you know, we were given to you and now we're here to die with you. All because of what? Because you were afraid? All because you were looking at so-and-so's, you know, they didn't, you know?
Well, let me give you the real aggravation.
Come on.
This is the real aggravation. It's not that they die with them. The idea that they had, this is my made up theory, okay? There's like an angel that drops off ideas. Okay. So she drops.
I love a good visual. Come on.
So the angel will go to Tiffany and say, Tiffany, I have an idea for you. I want you to make candles.
Okay.
And you're like, oh, candles. And you wake up and you don't even know why. You're like, oh my God,
I love candles.
Oh my God. So it's like you just, and then now you're in the grocery store. I mean, you're in everywhere you go. You're looking at the candles,
like a candle idea.
Then you get distracted, whatever, the things of life, and you never create candles. And then you see some girl that looks just like you and it has your life, and she started a candle business.
Oh, you know the one that burns me up? I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. The girl who's not as good as you, who's been working on the candles since 5 years after you thought, and now
you know
she got
why?
this.
Because the angel brought it to you and you didn't use it, and she put you on the clock. And after you let it die out, she took it to the next girl. And even though this next girl may not have been as good as you, may not have been as talented, you wasn't going to do it with the pretty little thing that you were going to do, and you were going to have the little swirl thing going, but you didn't do anything. Now she doing your swirl thing. How dare she?
That was mine.
That was mine. Oh why you're really mad is because you didn't do it.
Yes. It'll burn you up so
The only
bad.
time I was burnt up by what somebody else was doing is when I wasn't doing what God told me to do.
Ooh, come with it. Come on.
The minute I start walking out what I was supposed to do, I didn't care how ugly my brochure was, and I didn't care what you were doing. I was too busy
doing my
own audio books.
Come on.
Reading my, you know what I mean? I was too busy consumed in what my assignment was. The minute you start walking out your assignment, it really will dissolve any type of jealousy or resentment you can have for other people.
Yes, when you're in your purpose and your intention, there's no space for envy or jealousy or any of that.
You're busy working.
Woo, come on. Okay, yeah. So at this point, you open, because we all over the place. And that's just because I'm excited.
We're going to be here all day.
All day?
Okay.
All right, audience, hang with us, okay? We're going to get to the good part, okay? So you've opened your virtual assistant business.
Yes.
General VA.
Working my tail off.
Okay.
So the problem with doing that is let's say you get a podcast hoster that wants you to help her with her. So you're like, okay, I got you, girl. But because of me, I naturally want to see somebody's revenue increase.
Okay, well, are you taking class now?
I don't know how to just do my job. It's my problem.
Yes. You can't stay in your lane. You're multifaceted.
So if you come to me and say, all I need you to do is help me book guests. And then once you book the guests, just coordinate my calendar.
And it starts off nice. Like, you're like, okay,
and
cool,
I'll be like,
okay.
And then, but now I got to study your industry.
You're like, well, how much money do
And I got to be like, how can she make more? She should do a commercial at this point. That would be a perfect brand for her because I noticed that she always wears that. I wonder if we could reach out to them. So I get consumed with doing more than what I'm supposed to be doing, first of all, but also consumed with learning that industry.
So, you have a curious mind naturally.
Right. Yeah. So I want to learn your industry so I can better support you, right? My tagline was meet your secret weapon. Like
Come on, secret weapon.
It's still like the tagline I use, right? So
that's good.
That was my tagline for the VA company. So, but I would be consumed with learning your industry. The problem was I get you up and going. We're doing cool ideas with you. And then somebody will come and say, I'm an author.
Now you're starting all over again.
Now I got to start from scratch, learning the industry.
So
I knew then, okay, they probably want to something with the whole niche.
Right? Maybe I should have listened to that. But I'm sure it gave you really good insight, kind of like your first job, into an industry maybe you wouldn't have touched or wouldn't have been exposed to.
That's right. And I needed to learn. I needed that. Some things you need to learn the hard way. Yes. I needed to know that wasn't going to work. I needed to go through that process.
Are you, my mom used to tell me all the time, she still tells me like, I will tell you that thing is how you like, but let me go check it for myself.
Just a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Let me just put my hand near it.
And
I'm getting better.
But you know what?
Back
but
then
there's some things, I'm with you, because there's some things where it's like, oh, I don't have to lose $1 million to learn how to manage this money, babe. Because, let me learn from your mistakes. What did you do?
That's
okay, I'm definitely not doing that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So at that point, I had one of my clients was a real estate agent.
Okay.
She was the easiest one for me to help.
Because you had all this experience already.
Because I had all the experience already.
Yeah.
I already had ideas for her. She was the easiest one. And she was the busiest. So she was the one that was like sending me the most hours. So I knew then, I think I need to just focus on real estate agents.
Okay.
Preferably full-time real estate agents was like my ideal client.
And real quick, at this point, you're still doing your 9 to 5, right?
Absolutely.
How much, if you don't mind sharing, like what was your revenue at that point?
Oh, it wasn't, I wasn't talking about nothing. It was $500 a month.
Okay.
You know, but
it was enough to get you started.
Baby.
Like, it's proof of concept.
When you broke $500 a month extra, oh, you can tell me nothing. I was an entrepreneur, honey.
Okay, period. So, the office is furnished.
That's right.
It's IKEA, but it's okay.
That's right. We're here. So I was very, but I was consistent, and so I wanted to shift to real estate agents.
Okay.
The very first thing I was like, okay, I'm going to need some help because I still had a full-time job.
Mm-hmm. And you're a mom and a wife.
Mm-hmm. I still had a full-time job, so I was like, I might need to hire somebody just to help me, even though I wasn't making income where I needed to hire somebody. It wasn't about that. I was willing to take some of my income away to actually have some backup. I had no backup. And when you're a virtual assistant, you have to be available, and I needed backup. So I hired Tristan Skiles, was my very first hire.
Okay.
And she's still with me to this day. She's now my COO.
I think I saw her on your website.
Yes.
Blonde woman.
Yep.
That's
Tristan. So she's like an angel that came from heaven.
Listen.
God,
your second brain.
God gifted me with her, is what I like to say. Like, for stepping out on faith, here is Tristan. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So she treated my business like it was her business. Sometimes even more like it was her. Like, no, we're not putting up with that. We said X, Y, and Z. This is what we're like.
Shout out to her.
I just love that energy. Like, she's very much that way.
Because you also were doing the same for so many other people's businesses. So I think you kind of reaped what you sowed.
Maybe, you know what? I received
you attracted that back. That was good karma that you had been planting for years at that point.
Yes. So Tris comes along, and she's like the best support ever. Mm-hmm. And we said, we're going to do real estate. I said, you're going to do the listing. So that's when an agent puts the listing on the market, that process.
Okay.
I'll do the transaction. So that's after that listing that's on the market is now under contract, getting ready to be sold.
Okay.
I'll do that part. It's called transaction coordinating.
Okay.
So I'll be the transaction coordinator. You'll be the listing coordinator. Mm-hmm. We're just going to become rich. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do.
I'm a millionaire, and you're on our team. So now you're a millionaire.
Absolutely.
Welcome to the Millionaires Club.
Absolutely. So this was the plan. Okay. Now, this is when the plan got a little haywire. Okay. So now I'm pregnant.
Okay.
With my daughter.
Baby number 2.
I'm pregnant with my daughter. And I'm on the clock now because, I'm going to have a baby soon.
You're going to have some downtime.
So but I'm still working a full-time job. So I'm pregnant, working, and business is going great.
Okay.
Gangbusters. Switching to a niche was the cheat
code
the
catalyst.
We needed.
Yeah, it was the gas on the fire.
But there's only so much time in a day. It's just me and Tristan. I mean, overwhelmed was an understatement. We were trying so hard to stay afloat. We didn't want to turn clients away because we were finally able to.
Where were you getting clients from? Because I think a lot of new entrepreneurs, they have a issue with that, right? It's like they have their idea, and even if they're really good, they're like, well, how do I get started with clients? Like, even after the website and the brochures are all done and your systems are if you don't have any leads, like, how did you guys get that?
I think the best way I was able to get clients is that there was really no training on how to get clients for this business. Like, that actually made
that desperation made you figure
it just made me think more logical.
Okay.
Like, okay, where are they? Okay, how can I find them? So there was a couple of plays that I did that I was able to get clients very quickly.
Play. Come on.
I first would apply for, so if they put how somebody's looking for an assistant, they're going to put it out on Indeed, they're going to put it out on all these platforms. So the very first thing I did was go look on those and apply.
Okay.
And I would say, hey, I'm going to be the one that's working on the file. I do have Tristan if it's listing coordinating. We're just 2-man band, so it's still a personalized experience, but we do work virtually. If that's something that, you're open to, I would love to have a conversation with you. I
love that. Okay.
And then I still would look for people local. So if they were open to having that conversation, our first meeting could be in person.
Okay. So
they can put their eyes on me. And then if I get to telling them about my first job and the things I did there,
and
my
all
second job,
yeah.
And it was like,
okay,
their eyes light up. Oh, wow, you can do procedures. You know how to find problems and solve them. You also have the background in real estate and all that kind of stuff. The marketing stuff I had been pretty good at that point. So, so that was the first thing I did. That's how we got our first couple of clients. And then we start a referral process. So if you referred, we get a kickback to the agent. And so they start referring us. And so that was one way. And then there's also a platform without getting all to the technical stuff that maybe people won't understand. But if you're a real estate agent and you put a home on the market, you have a database of real estate agents that you can send that flyer out to. Say, hey, new listing. Hopefully you can bring me a buyer.
Yeah.
Well, you would use a service that would do that.
Okay.
So I called that same service and said, I have my own flyer that's just promoting my transaction coordinating business. Can I utilize your platform to send it to your agents? Okay. She said, well, you are like a third party. I would have to charge you more. Fine by me. So she charged me more, and I would send that out, and I would be on the phone for 3 days straight. Wow. Taking on clients.
Love that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So
those are some of the things I did.
Yeah. There's the two of you. Business is booming.
Yes.
What's next then?
Well, the next thing I had to do is I had to leave my job.
Yeah, because at this point, you know, maxed out. You can't do both.
And at this point, I'm out of integrity.
Oh.
At this point, I'm out of integrity because I can't even give my job when I need to give my job because I need to give it to my company.
Yeah.
So I had to do what I had to do. I left a little bit sooner than I probably was financially ready to because I still had a staff to pay. You still have expenses, but I was out of integrity. So I just had to go all in on
you
my
were
company.
Like committed to figuring it out.
I was just going to have to figure it out. So my husband came in the office. He was getting ready to go to work that day because he worked like 3 to midnight. That's when I was saying he worked nights.
Yeah.
And he was getting ready to go to work. And I was like, I think it's time. I think I need to leave my job and do this full time. And he said, let's do it.
I love that. Shout out to that supportive husband.
Man, he's the best. He's the best. So he was like, let's do it. And I said, I don't know how this is going to work. He's like, I'll hold it down. And I had the medical insurance at the time. So we're going to have to transfer that to your job. You know, you'll have to carry that load because, you know, and that was it. I put in at that point, it was like a 30-day notice because my job was very personalized and intensive. Yeah. So I didn't want to just leave them high and dry. So I put a 30-day notice in.
That's very gracious.
And and then I asked if I could work from home. You know what I mean? Like I needed to be able to work from home because I needed to have like 7 arms. You know what I'm going on. And I did my last 30 days there. And that was the last time I've ever had a corporate job.
Okay. Awesome. I love this. Now, one of the first things that Words introduced, the way he explains you is like, a getter doner, if that makes sense.
That's
like
funny.
You need something done, you call Tiffany.
Yes.
And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, you know, and then he told me about ET and his events that you did. So like talk me through like how
we got there.
Yes.
How'd that happen?
Girl, I want to know because I'm still dying to meet him.
Okay. Oh, that's easy. We can make that happen.
Let me tell you how I learned about ET. I was working at Target at the time.
Yes.
And I was failing miserably. Like I worked for Target for 3 years and I was an executive intern for the first 2. Loved my location. It was next to my college campus. We felt like family. Right. And then when I graduated and I went closer to home in Maryland, my new boss was not really feeling me. And he was constantly critiquing me. And I would be up in the store by myself at 3:00 in the morning because I was in charge of the sales floor, trying desperately to figure out, like, I'm gonna prove him wrong. Like, you know what I mean? I think being like a Black Muslim woman, I feel like I'm constantly underestimated. Like, people wanted me to do like medicine, nursing, something like that.
Oh, wow.
Be a teacher, boo. And I'm like,
right.
No, I want to be a boss.
The stereotype.
I want to be
what
a boss.
What are you doing?
Right? Because I think one of the, you know, that moment where you realize like what you're good at. I was lucky enough that when I was in elementary school, there was a program where they brought these, I don't know if they were just like philanthropists. I don't know what they were, but basically it was like job development. And we were in 6th grade, right? And, you know, he was like, your job should be something you're passionate about. And I was like, well, my dad hates his job. So what do you mean? He coming pissed every time he come in from work. So they're like, no, it could be something fun. And I was like, that doesn't make it. Literally defied the definition and understanding that I had of a job, right? As a child.
Right.
And he's like, no, tell me what you'd like to do for fun. And I was like, he's like, no, I want you to tell me the truth. And I leaned in and I was like, I'd like to be line leader.
A boss. Okay. A boss.
And he was like, he said, there's a job for that. I was like, oh my God, what is it called?
Sign me up.
He's like, you want to do business. I went home. My dad's a doctor. And I told him, I said, I'm not being no damn doctor no more. We're done. He's like, what?
How old were you at this point?
6th grade. So what?
I wish I had that. I
mean, oh my God.
What I had was, I ended up asking some friends about this too. What were the things that you noticed that you liked in childhood that symbolize what you do now? And I remember when I was just a little kid, and like I never watched cartoons. I used to like the Cosby Show because I used to like Claire because she was like a boss in my head. And so I used to just like to watch her prance around with her briefcase and, you know what I mean, her peacoat. And then I liked, like I would gravitate towards movies that had business women in it. Like I like Baby Boom. She had a baby and she was like a boss. Then I remember when I was getting a little bit older and somebody told me, you got to watch Pretty Woman. And my mom was evangelist. My mom didn't play none of that.
Yes.
So I had to sneak and watch Pretty Woman. And
I love this.
And then I go back to school and they're like, did you see it, girl? She was
like, yes, I did.
And I was like, yeah. Forget her. Do you know what her boyfriend or whatever, what he does? So apparently he's a big company and he buys small companies and then
you made that connection at that age?
That's all I focused on in the whole movie.
Got it.
Was what he did.
Girl, I was like, what store is that? I want to shop there too. I want that bag.
I was totally focused on the fact that he was a businessman and a boss.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize then that I had a love for business that I really didn't make the connection at that point.
In terms of Target, I totally lost from my track of thought. But at Target, it would be 3:00 in the morning and I'm trying to figure out how to do this floor set so I don't get in trouble at work. And, like I was determined to be the best damn executive team lead.
Yeah.
And even though I didn't have mentors at the time that I felt like I could trust, because all of my peers are white males, old enough to be my dad. And they're like, you're not cut out for this type of thing. And I YouTubed back, I think this was 2015. And I heard you got to want it as bad as you can breathe. And I would literally be crying 3:00 in the morning. The store is closed.
Yep.
Okay. Corporate security knows I'm in there because I didn't put my code in and I just stay there until the store opens because it'd be like next to my day off. Right. So if it's like a Thursday night and I'm off Friday, I would stay overnight Thursday until someone came in the morning, trying to get everything together. And they'd be like, what the hell are you doing? And at that time, I was desperate to prove I could do this business thing. It had been my dream. So E.T. is what I listened to overnight.
So good.
Oh my God. So I need to meet him one day.
Oh, well, you will. That's easy. That's easy.
So
we'll do that.
That's why I love him because he had kind of verbalized in a way of like, you have to have faith in, because from a religious perspective, I kind of understand that, like when times get hard, but when it came to acquiring something materialistic or success, I hadn't figured out that, scripture or religious texts could extend themselves that way too.
That's good.
Right? I thought it was like, oh, when it's hard to tell the truth, still do it.
Right.
when the person's getting on your nerves and you're trying to be kind and you're trying to have integrity. So I didn't put it 2 and 2 together in terms of, no, when you're trying to establish a business, that little dream that your angel kind of drops off to you, you have to also have faith without seeing it. You know what I mean? Like it's got to just be clear in your head. So E.T. was one of the main voices that I developed at that age. That was really, really awesome. He's amazing.
He so how it led to that. So now it's me and Tris. I now am a new mom again. You know what I mean? With Kennedy was my second baby. So what we were overwhelmed, right? Our systems weren't necessarily where I wanted them to be. The second book that changed the game for me was E-Myth by Michael Gerber.
I've heard of that. I haven't actually read it. Is it? Okay.
You'll love it. Listen to the audiobook.
Let me.
Yes, because he does it. He's very energetic.
I love authors who do their audibles and they're engaging.
And he's so energetic. He explains, because he draws you into the person whose life this is, and he creates this picture. And you're like, that's me.
That's me.
So that was a book that changed the game for me. I started to write procedures. Tristan hated me because I was like, we're going to write the procedures of our transaction coordinator manager. She said, Tiffany, we do not have a transaction coordinator manager. You know why? Because we don't have procedures for a transaction coordinator manager. So I just heard it in this book because that was part of my syllabus. Learn about systems. And so that was the first number 1 book about systems. So we created systems for every layer. So a TC manager, transaction coordinator, listing coordinator manager, admin manager, and marketing manager.
Okay.
And then we had a role for a COO. We forget what their process would look like, what their day would look like. And we did this, and Tristan hated it because she was like, "This is so stupid because nobody's here to do this but just me and you."
And her, she's not seeing the ROI for her investment,
and she's not. And because we would do that, and then we put like an org chart, but we were all of the roles. So it was like I was the TC manager and the TC,
all the levels,
right?
You're a reporting manager.
That's
your
right.
Report. I love it.
I was like, we're gonna do this, and within 6 months, all those roles were filled.
Nice.
Yeah, all those roles were filled. So now we're a full on business now. Okay. I think at that point we had about 15 people total that was working with us. Tristan's now the COO. I'm now the CEO. We had TC managers, listing coordinator managers, TCs under those managers. And this is a full on business. Yeah. Okay. Now, this is where ease comes into place.
Okay.
So at this point, I'm going to different people for different things, right? So, I'm a Christian, so I'm listening to pastors and all that to kind of feed that part of me.
Yes.
I'm a business person, so I'm going and going to listen to this podcast to feed that part of me.
Yeah.
I also need some motivation, so I'm going over here to get that.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was my son, who was the first person to put me on to E, was like, you got to listen to this video.
Mm-hmm.
So he sent me Bad As You Want to Breathe, right?
Yep.
It's always normally the first one people hear.
Yep.
So I hear that and I'm intrigued. I'm like, and it wasn't like the first time I heard him. I heard of E before. So I said, let me start listening to him more.
Yeah.
And I ended up finding an interview that he did with Ed Milet, where he talked about his whole life. So I was able to hear who he was as a totality of a person.
And that's great. His story is
And
incredible.
I was like, everything I'm pulling from all these people is in this one person.
Mm-hmm.
So then I start listening to his podcast, and I'm hearing CJ for the first time, and Carl, and I'm, C's like the brains and the business guy. So I'm getting some tips from him. Mm-hmm. Then the motivation and spiritual stuff he's bringing that. And I realized that I could go to one company and get all of my needs met as far as personal development and business development.
Yep, that's it.
So now I'm like locked in. I literally went from the very first episode and listened to every episode of E.
Damn.
And of the podcast.
Okay.
So I've listened to every episode. So at this point, I'm like, I'm loving the brand. I'm in Breathe University, which is like their community. Mm-hmm. And he did a post where he was like, I'm only doing this for Christmas. I'm only taking, I think he took like 10 people where you could get a one-on-one with me for $250.
What year was this?
This was a long time ago.
Oh my God, where was I? $250.
I happened to catch that post. And so I immediately signed up. And
of course you did, because
of course.
What?
Right. So I immediately signed up, and it's an audio call that we do. It's not, back then Zoom wasn't popping like that. So it's just an audio call. He calls me on like the Google Voice number or something like that.
I love it.
And we have a meeting, and at that point, my team was working tremendously hard. I really wanted to figure out what I could do for them. And I didn't know, I was just trying to see what I could do more for them. Mm-hmm. So that was one of the talking points in our call. And he said, well, have you ever done like an assessment? Because, the flight assessment that they have now, which is derived out of the DISC assessment. He's like, have you ever done that with the whole team?
Yeah.
Right. He said, have you done it with the whole team? I said, well, I've done it for myself and my husband, but not my whole team.
Yeah.
She got to do that. He said, I need to get footage because I have not done it for like a small business yet. I need to get footage for that. I can fly in and do it for your company.
Excuse me?
Ma'am. Now listen. Now I'm like,
I'd be like, hold please, I'm not breathing at the moment. I need to go find my breath. My lungs.
He's like, I can come in and do it for your company now.
Wow.
So as I'm excited, I'm also thinking we're still a small business, so we don't have like just all this money floating around. But my whole team's all over the U.S. So for me to make this happen, I got to fly everybody in.
Oh, yikes!
So I'm a little bit stressed.
Isn't that exactly how it happens? The great idea followed by like terror.
I'm gonna pull this off.
Yeah,
I'm gonna pull this off. So and then we hang up, and he's like, well, I said, who do I talk to? I forget who he had me in contact with. I'm emailing back and forth with them. And then I remember thinking at some point, because they were even emailing, and they were like, this is the fee that it's going to be. He hadn't mentioned like a fee when I was on the call with him. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh, okay.
Okay.
So now like, is there a virtual fee? Is there another option? Mm-hmm. And then he emails and says, no, I told her I would do it. There's no fee. I told her I was going to do it.
Look at God. Come on.
So all I have to focus in on is I had to pay for his travel, but all I had to focus on was getting my team to Dallas. I live in Dallas.
Yeah.
So we come to Dallas.
And you're flying all 15 at that point?
The ones that could come. Some of them lived in the area.
Okay.
Like Tristan lived in Corsicana, which is in Texas. So she drove up. She doesn't anymore. She's bounced around the U.S. since then. It's the perks of having a virtual company. But but she lived where she could drive in. So some people drove in, and then we all stayed at the hotel, and we had like the conference room. Okay, and he came and did on this.
Is this the first time you're meeting him in person at this point?
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
So he comes and he meets the team. He's learning what we do. He's like, you guys do systems? Yeah, we do this. We telling him about how we do things and our processes and all that. And he loves the team. And he says to me, do you think you could help build out my process for my booking?
Come on.
I said, absolutely. What am I saying? No? You know what I'm saying?
When can I start?
Okay. So he's like, do you think you could do? So what ended up happening is we helped build the process for his booking.
And little does he know you're going to come in for booking, but you're going to take over the whole business.
I don't know how to behave myself.
We
so,
can't take you nowhere.
So that's right. I'm in booking. I want to do this. I'm closing deals. He ended up, I don't know. I think that year we made triple what he did the year before in
I
booking.
know that's right.
So what I did know at
you're
the time is
where's the revenue, the invoices? I need to see how much money we're making.
But here's the thing that when I had a transferable skill is because I had closed at that point. I think we had done 2,000 contracts. So I had closed so many real estate agents on the phone because I was the sales manager. Yeah. Okay, on the org chart.
On the org chart, reporting to the COO. That's right. You on the org chart.
That's right. Because I closed so many people that I was a good closer on the phone. It ended up being a transferable skill when I helped him with booking. Wow. So I was able to bring the system in, and then I was able to close on my system.
Damn.
And we were able to make a lot of money, right? But at that same time, he was like, I would love to do something in Dallas. I'm doing 1%. I think he had just did Arizona, 1% in Phoenix. And he said, could you help do the Dallas one?
Can I help you?
Just be like the local person that
didn't even know what he was asking for at that point.
But I don't know how to behave myself.
Right.
So I got sponsors. This is the system we're going to use. And we did Dallas 1%. It sold out.
Of course it did.
And he was like, you're now the new event coordinator.
You're hired. No, because words told me that like you kind of went into the business and blew it up in the best way. And now like, once people from other people that I've talked to who know you as well, they all say the same thing. Oh my God, Tiffany's amazing. And once you meet her, you ain't gonna let her go. Be ready to fight because she's in high demand. And I'm wondering, did you ever have, because I don't know, what was the time frame between you walked into your office, right?
Yes.
Until you close on now you're gonna be the coordinator.
I walked into my office in 2013 and I started working with E in 2019.
Okay. So, and you quit your job. You have 2 kids now, right? Like, did you ever have a chance to slow down and like appreciate that the determination that you had to like never be in that bankruptcy situation again, that you achieved it?
Probably not. Probably didn't happen until a little bit later.
Okay. Yeah. Because it was kind of like just go, one thing after another. Yeah.
Success is so gradual. You know what I mean? Like it may look like it's overnight, but it's so gradual to you, the person. Because to really be successful, you have to become somebody else.
In there day in and day out.
And when you become somebody else, it doesn't, that happens bit by bit. You know what I mean? You become a 20-year-old. It took 20 years.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like,
and you have to see someone from your past who's like, I remember when you were 15 and oh my God, you've grown so much. And then it's like, man, you're right. I have come a long way.
Yeah. Are they just, I'm unrecognizable of who I was back in my early 20s.
Gotcha.
I'm just unrecognized. Somebody would say, who are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in this whole process, like I have to have like friends who are doing similar things to me, right? Like I feed off of others who have great ideas and are doing dope stuff. And I'm like, you doing what? I'm a 10x that because you ain't going to be better than me. But like, and I know you're an introvert. So this whole time from 2013 to 2019, are you really just you and your husband at solo, or do you have like other friends and entrepreneur friends that you've made?
I didn't have any entrepreneur friends or anybody else in my family that was an entrepreneur at the time. Wow. That's why I loved E's community so much.
Yes.
Because it's all these other entrepreneurs and they were all about personal development.
Yes.
And then I would meet Rochelle T. Parks in this community.
Yes,
I would meet Words Taylor in this community. I'd meet Terica Lynn Smith in this community.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean? Tiffany Montgomery in this community that are all to this day
amazing.
Amazing and all super close to me still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So but that's how I ended up getting started with E. I was doing that. And I just had an eye for being able to come from the outside and look in and cultivate a business in ways that they couldn't see it.
Yes.
And that might have come from a sprinkle of my corporate job. That, you know what I mean? Because that was my role there.
Yeah.
But I think a part of it was just innately who I am. I like to make things better. And so if I notice something that I feel like you need to change, I'm going to give that. I'm going to give that advice away.
Yeah.
And then I was well known for being able to do that.
I love that.
I was just well known from that. I am a Coach Kelly, who is one of my business coaches, told me you're a blind spot whisperer. Like you know how to identify somebody's blind spot,
like a bloodhound.
Yeah,
like, you gonna find it.
Yes, I'm like, oh, that's good. So, but you don't realize it in the moment. And so I started to do that for other people's businesses. So Rochelle, who I mentioned, And, it's still a client of mine. And I just came in like, I think we need to do this. And then we should do this. And then do that.
I love that.
And Ro is just an executor. So, I mean, we were able to just, I don't even know what's beyond 10X what we were able to do in her business. So I just noticed I was just really good at doing that in someone's business.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for those who are listening to your story, like, damn, it's obvious that there was some sort of luck, right? There's the book called Unfair Advantages, where it's like gifts that you're given that you don't earn, right?
That's right.
Having connections that you're like either born into or right place, right time type of a thing, right?
Yes.
I'm still real pissed that you had this $250 opportunity.
Hey, it was on the Instagram.
What?
Okay.
Clearly, I wasn't looking at the right thing.
You got to look at every post.
VH1 still had me on the lock, right?
Ah, you're the chokehold.
Yes. Okay. So I was looking at the wrong things, right?
Yeah.
But for the people who are listening, like, I mean, that's great for Tiffany, but like that can't be me. What do you have to share with
No, let me tell you what was great for Tiffany. Those syllabuses that I started in 2013. That was what was great for Tiffany. Meeting E and him being impressed of who he met was because of those syllabuses that I started in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
I had inundated myself with business principles and values and submerged myself on how I can become better. So he was impressed when he met me. He would not have been impressed with the Tiffany in 2012.
Mm-hmm. I
He gave me a high five and kept it moving. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna pray for you in that TV.
That's right. You need some help. So if you really want to expose yourself to more opportunities, the very first thing you have to do is just develop yourself internally. I think, and you all have control over that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You all have a YouTube. I mean, if you can
free.
deal with some commercials, it's free.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can make a coin or two, you get premium, and you can really just get the content in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's just so many opportunities for somebody to better themselves. And I promise you, if you start there, success is inevitable.
Yeah.
Because poverty cannot attach itself to somebody that is fully developed.
Ooh, I love that.
Yes. It falls off. Like, I don't even know what to stick myself to.
Right.
She consistent. She's executing. She don't have no low self-esteem. Mm-hmm. I don't know what to attach myself to so that I can pour poverty into her.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that. Steve Harvey said something that I really appreciate. He said, you've got to give God something to bless. You can't, he said, you can't be at home like, give me a new job. You're not applying to nothing. Like,
right.
Well, they're supposed to just randomly have your phone number. Like, yes, God does miracles, but it don't work like that.
No. He does miracles, but it's the action that's blessed.
Okay.
So if you go to your Bible and you study any miracle that God has done, it's the action that's blessed.
Come on.
It's always the action. One of my favorite stories where the woman needed her husband had passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes to the prophet. She needed coaching, basically. She's like, I need help. They're trying to take my kids, make them slaves.
Okay.
And he said, what do you have in your home? And she said, I had this little pot of oil. That's all I had in 2013. Is this little bit of go get 'em that was willing to do anything.
Yeah.
Like, she had a little pot of oil. He said, okay, go borrow some vessels from your neighbors, borrow not a few. Means go deeper into debt.
Yeah.
Okay, basically, go deeper into debt and go get something and fill those. And the oil that she poured in those vessels is what got supernatural. He put his super on her natural. And it became a miracle that her little bit of oil filled all the vessels.
So she started with what she had.
And she went and got the vessels. She took action. Mm-hmm. So the Bible says, I will bless the work of your hands. Mm-hmm. Give and it shall be given back unto you. Everything that God says he'll do is based off of your action. Okay. What he's not going to do is while you're sitting on the couch watching anything that ends in Housewife and bring you $1 million.
Just get off of VH1. If it's not a documentary, hang it up. Okay. We want you to win. Learn from our mistakes. Yes. Please, Lord.
So it is the action that's blessed.
Yes.
And I took action, but I took action first, planting the seed and rooting myself into what I needed to be and who I needed to become so that wealth would just come to me. And that is exactly how it worked out. I didn't know it at the time. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's only when you look back and you know that's what worked for me. Wow. So if anybody sees me and like, man, it's so cool, man, you get to work with E, or you know what I mean? You got Coach Ro.
That's what the hell I said. I said, damn.
But it really started there. Really started there. And who I am, I don't have to. So most people, if they're sitting in front of E, they're trying to portray themselves to be more than they are. I was who I was at the time, but who I was at the time was just different than who I was in 2013.
Yeah. And I think also like you were very intentional about crafting your new persona, your new identity about how you show up, what your work ethic looked like. And I think, when you put that kind of effort for that many years, it becomes really easy to be comfortable in your own skin. Right?
Yes.
It's exhausting, and
Yes.
I know from experience, I've absolutely made that mistake of let me try to fit this mold of what so and so is doing. And at some point you're gonna crack and they're gonna be like, okay,
It's
well,
exhausting.
it's exhausting trying to be someone else or do something else. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I love that you said that. And I love that, Oprah also says that there's no such thing as luck. It's just preparation meeting.
I believe that.
I believe that as well.
Absolutely.
Okay. Anything else like that you want to leave the audience? I mean, it's been gym after gym, and I feel like we're gonna have to talk after this because I still have, some things we need to discuss. But
Yeah.
do you still take clients? Or are you exclusively with E?
So, I don't take clients anymore as far as like business management, business development.
Yeah.
Because I'm very submerged in the ones that I have now.
Yeah.
I am launching a mentorship for aspiring entrepreneurs that want to do the company that I started first, which is owning a real estate virtual assistant company.
Okay.
Because I still own that company to this day.
Nice.
I mean, now it's about 20 of us. It's still highly successful. They say most companies fail after 3 years. Most companies fail after 5 years.
Failure where?
And they don't have a chance after 10 years. And we celebrate our 10-year anniversary this year.
That's amazing.
So,
congratulations.
thank you. So I have mastered how to have success in that business. And I mastered how to get clients within 30 days. I've mastered how to become overbooked.
Yep.
We were referral only for the last 5 years of our business. Like,
wow.
If you get already a client and refer somebody, you could not even come.
You can't sit with us.
You can because we were booked. Yeah,
wow.
we were at capacity. And so I'm teaching other people how to do the same because I realized that was the first company that I started that you could do. And it's not this humongous investment.
And there's not a lot of barriers
just an
to
investment
entry.
of your time. And everything that I learned because I had no coach at the time, I can teach them. So that's going to already speed up the process for them. Okay. So that's the only thing now that I'm doing open. I still am helping E, of course. And then I have clients where I do business management for, but that is my capacity at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Well,
because I like my work-life balance.
Okay, come on. I was just about to say, because we also try to talk about like, the podcast name is Hustle and Hues, but don't hustle yourself into the ground now either. I don't believe in that. I've learned the hard way that, I told you I can't stay up but more than 3 nights now.
No, at all.
What do you do?
And people say I'm booked and busy, and I'm like,
I don't want to do that. Booked and busy and being a boss. That's the other thing too, like people management. It's not as cracked up as it's not as cute as it's cracked up to be.
No. I want none of those things for my life.
What do you do for wellness now? Like, how do you take care of yourself?
Oh, I love a beach.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying. And I like being with my family.
Okay,
if I have to go coordinate an event, my whole family's coming in the nanny.
Listen. So I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Your husband and the baby was here. I was like, ooh, it's a family
That's
event.
My road
and I'm
dog.
so glad.
Yeah.
I'm so glad.
And he didn't have to. I mean, yesterday I was like, I said I'm doing a podcast tomorrow, and he's like, all right, I'll roll with you. Like
the whole
we just like
here.
rolling together. He's entrepreneur now too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What?
Entrepreneurs breed entrepreneurs.
Come on now.
So
listen, I'm trying to tell Fred, I'm like, listen, you can do a business.
He will.
He's so
eventually when the time is right, he will.
Yep.
He is. He's getting his knowledge. When the time is right, he will.
I know he's gonna get sick of me staying home making money, and he gotta go to work. She at the beach again. That's right. Oh, baby, you PTO? Oh, I can't relate. Sorry.
It's so funny. That's how he was. Like he as a truck driver, so he was like,
"Ooh, logistics is hard too."
And my calendar would be, okay, I'm going to this tour stop and this one, and then we're gonna go here, and then and so he'd be like, okay, I can do one of those 8 things.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Like,
it's only so much of that you could take.
Right.
So yeah, he's an entrepreneur. So we all travel as a unit. I have a teacher for my daughter so that she doesn't have to go to traditional school, so that she can always travel with me. Okay. She's in World School. Okay. It's called
what's World School?
World School is when we went to London. And she rolled with us there. And
she get real world experience. I was like, what program is this?
That's right. We have to, we're going on a cruise later because I'm helping coordinate that. Like, I want her to experience life in the eyes of mommy being a boss.
Okay, come on,
so that she knows she can do whatever she wants to do. And we teach in between that. She has a teacher that teaches her 101, takes her to dance and all that cool stuff. But entrepreneurship has had me to create the life that I didn't know was possible. And it helped me to be like, wouldn't it be cool if
Yeah.
before my daughter had her own teacher, it was in my head, wouldn't it be cool if Kennedy could have her own teacher because she learned like her father. She likes to work with her hands. She learns better when she's interactive.
Yeah.
School is a little bit more book and traditional. Wouldn't it be
Sound
cool?
like her mama too.
Wouldn't it be cool if? Yes.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be cool if her teacher would teach her in her style and then she could travel with mommy and then she could kind of, wouldn't it be cool if I could create that for her?
Yeah.
And then it was a year later, that was my reality.
Wow. Is there any differences that you've seen in your children just by nature of the way that you've lived your life differently than your parents?
No, they're still selfish and entitled.
They still your kids are still pretty young though at this point.
Well, my son's 17. No, he's awesome. My son is like, he's navigated through those waters.
You said your son is, damn it.
Yes.
Okay, so when you get off, our exclusive content is going to be your skincare regimen. Because what, sis?
So thank you.
Sheesh.
My son is 17. He's applying now for Berkeley. Hopefully by the time this is out, we'll have some acceptance
my husband
letter.
went to Davis.
He did?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, loves music. And we're able to just get him submerged in the music, let him do what he loves. But he's great. Yeah, he's the, like me and my husband say he's probably the best parent out of all three of us. Okay. Because he's the one that's like, y'all probably shouldn't let them do that.
He probably,
like y'all should probably.
That's the oldest child syndrome right there.
Yes. He's like
the responsible one.
I need to talk to y'all about Kennedy.
Like, let's have a seat.
We probably need to give her a bedtime.
Yes.
She's wilding out.
Yes.
We're like, you're probably right, son. We'll do that. We'll work on that.
Funny.
So he's definitely the mature one out of the bunch.
Okay.
Kennedy is 7.
Okay.
So her life is filled with roadblocks and school and dance. And those are all the things that are important to her. I'm sure the perks in the appreciation for the life that's been provided to her will happen at some point.
At some point, yeah.
But
she still has time.
Yeah, that's right. Look how long it took me. You know what I mean? Who am I to judge?
Right.
So, and then I also have a baby girl that's 10 months.
She's so cute.
Thank you.
You said her name earlier, and I literally heard her pipe up like, "Who talking about me?"
Zariah. Yes,
yes.
She knows her name very well.
Yes, very well.
Yeah.
Okay, so last question before I let you go.
Yes.
You have accomplished so much. It sounds like from a spiritual perspective, your walk with God has been something that you've been really intentional about. From a mothering perspective, your intentionality around raising your kids, from your business, your personal development. Out of all of your accomplishments, what's the one that's like, that is it? That's your biggest accomplishment, your most proudest moment up until this point?
Business-wise, or
give me any category you can think of.
I would say when my husband wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Why that moment?
Because I always saw the potential in him. He didn't really see it in himself. And so he got his confidence just by watching me be one. Because I mean, he met me when I was a hot mess. He was like, if this girl could do it, okay, a doggone cow
There's
can
hope
do
for
it.
all of us.
Definitely do it.
Gosh. Yeah.
So I think that was good. That was a good shift for us. A shift in his confidence. Watching him be a leader and an entrepreneur it's really cool to watch from the sidelines. He's like always consumed in what I can do, how I can make it better.
You have another level to bond with your husband.
Absolutely, because now he understands like, oh wow, those beginning years when you were
see it now.
I'm in the thick of it. You know what I mean? And so, and just being able to kind of talk through those things and, it's good. It was good because not necessarily that he became an entrepreneur, it's who he became to become an entrepreneur.
Got you.
It was pretty cool to see.
Okay. Yeah. Anything else that stands out in terms of your accomplishments?
No.
That was the biggest one?
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be the biggest one.
Yeah.
I've done some pretty cool things.
You have.
I mean, so
and you're really humble too, so I'm just
resume. I mean, there's some pretty cool, like we did the UOU launch for East Book. I managed that whole team and we were we got New York Times twice.
Wow.
Sold 100,000 books in 4 months. Probably
That's
less than 4
amazing.
months because we launched at the end of September. So
wow.
So we've had some pretty cool things happen, but all of that is just the fruit.
Yeah.
Of the syllabuses.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like,
okay, so are you selling the syllabuses, girl? Because we need copies.
And you come to my mentorship.
Come to mentorship. We're launching it.
I might give that away as a seed. Okay. Just a little crumb to get them in there.
We'll take the crumbs. You know, they said a mustard seed.
That's right.
That's all you need. Just give me the highlights.
Yes. But all of my business accomplishments were the fruit of that.
Okay.
So if I had to be more proud of anything is that I made that decision to start doing that. And then I knew that where I was at that point wasn't good enough.
Okay. And then this is the real last question. Like, what do you see for yourself? You have accomplished so much.
Yeah.
What do you see in your in your future? What's the next phase of Tiffany?
Well, I've always been behind the scenes. I've always been introverted. That's why you said I try to go on your social media. I'm like,
is this really her page?
Hello, is anybody here? So, and I've always enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I think that God has been not giving me any rest on, you have to put your story out there more and you have to go coach more people. I would always coach my clients.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I might have 3 clients at any given time. That's it.
Yeah.
And I've really been feeling the heaviness of go and find some more aspiring entrepreneurs and show them how they can change their life.
Wow.
And so that's what that's where the mentorship started. And people ask me too, will you do one just for general business? Eventually, sure. Right now, this is where I'm starting and where my focus is. And it is where I'm feeling led to do. So right now, it's just about finding the balance. I still have my clients that I always help probably for a lifetime. And then I'll be coaching aspiring entrepreneurs to get in the game as well.
Okay. Can you drop the information of we'll put it in the show notes too, but when is that launching? How do they find you?
So you can find me at Tiffany Haynes Co. Okay, on all social media. Okay. So it's just my first name, Tiffany Haynes CO, on all social media. So all information for that will be on all my social media platforms.
And when's the mentorship opening?
It'll be happening within the next 60 days.
Okay.
It's going to be soon.
Okay, cool. It's in development.
We've been working.
Now. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
It is.
Well, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. I hope you had a
great
good time.
To meet you. Yes. I loved it. I didn't really, we didn't really talk much before this.
We didn't.
So we got to know each other in front of the whole world.
Yes.
But
it's just the beginning. I'm a full proponent of this is just the beginning. I'm excited.
We'll be best friends.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to it. All right. Well, thank you for coming and we'll see you next time.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.